Um, so yeah, no, the whole thing that the whole sort of idea that I'm trying to do with Intertwingler is to imagine like how is it that I would go about making like basically like replacing the file system almost as the default store of information. Like there's still ways of accessing like file shaped things, but like an idea where you you've got data that is available in a sort of a flat networked address space. So like but like local to you. Um so it's like if I have like let's say I have an Intertwingler instance in my house and it has for instance like my like personal finance app, like the thing that I have that's like that's running off of Postgres and shit. Like if I have that, if I had that running on Intertwingler, like I would want that in my house. Like I would want it so that you had to break into my house to steal it, and even if you did, you would have like a dead, encrypted hard drive. Like there would not, like so you would be air gapped kind of a thing, but like it would still have access to um to pull stuff into it.
Hmm.
Um, but like you would be going from the high side. Like you would be going from like you would be going like you wouldn't be able to get at it from there, but you could pull stuff into its space. Um, and so like so the sort of idea of like a security gradient anyway, and then the idea is like because like when I sort of think about like in my home, it's like okay, you know, like yeah, maybe if you had like an SSH zero day, you could own the fucking laptop in the corner. Like maybe if you had, some kind of thing that, or whatever, like if you tried to like if you were a state actor, you could get me, but like, you would otherwise have to break in to steal shit. Um and so, but at the same time is like my I can't rely on a residential fiber connection to be up 24/7, same as I can't rely on residential power to be up
Well,
24/7.
yeah,
And I can't rely
that's where the services mesh that
Yes.
atproto promotes comes into
Yes.
play.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the point, right? Like is like so what I imagine is I imagine like a cleavage plane where there's the trade-off, where there's the like I keep the stuff in the vault that you would have to break in to get, like, and hold it a gun, hold me at gunpoint to give you the password kind of a
Yeah.
thing. And then, um, but then there's the stuff that I want to push out over the wall that goes out onto the network. And I want that all to be in the same address space. Like I want that all to be able to be sort of a permeable on demand, or like permeable how you in ways that make sense, I guess.
And
I
if the
don't know.
address space is like, I mean, publicly tied to the did mechanism, you can
Yeah.
tie that to your portable
Well,
identity and
a did like I mean dids the thing is like yeah, dids you can have any did. Like you can make your own did scheme. Like
Mhm.
that's what did is
Yeah.
about. But so uh um I don't know. But I guess like what I'm sort of imagining like so the reason like what I'm imagining, I guess, like eventually, like I was talking to somebody this morning about Intertwingler, and it was just sort of reminding me about like just like since like everything has been sense atlas all the time,
Yeah.
like it's sort of like reminding me about like other things that you can do or like would be able to do with Intertwingler, and it's like what I want to like what I'm imagining, because the thing is like in Intertwingler, like all of the config is online. and you could theoretically like edit the configuration for the application server itself from the application server itself. Um, because it's all RDF. And then, like there's also like something there's a fucking what's it called? Um like a template language like that will take RDF and turn it into HTML. I call it loop, which, like I could see, next year coming out with. Um, and then if you were doing like RDFS, owl, shackle, editing that in Intertwingler, like you could imagine having like basically you can bootstrap like fucking your own sense atlas from Intertwingler
Hmm.
with nothing else, right? You could just be sitting there and clicking on shit like in your browser, and it would build out. You could just build out your whole ontologies and shit, you know, all your instance data, whatever, all your templates, and like you would just be doing that in the browser with like just the stuff that's there in Deterministic. The only time you would ever have to like write actual code is if you needed to write a handler. Um, but like the only times, but then there's the only times you would ever have to write a handler are when there isn't a handler that does what you need. And
Right.
so, and so then the question is like, well, what would be some useful handlers that are aside from the ones that, that I have already written or what have you? Now, an interesting one uh, would be approto. Would be like, okay,
Right.
so I have my Intertwingler instance, which is also happens. So anything I do on Intertwingler is automatically on the atmosphere now because
Hmm.
I don't fucking know at this point. Like put it this way. I'm confident I like unless there's some insane shit that like I didn't anticipate, I'm pretty confident that I could map, RDF to lexicon. Um so Intertwingler would be running RDF and then it would just transform its shit to lexicon and go out over WebSocket or whatever the hell it does, whatever it needs to do for atproto. Um, I've already got my own content addressable stuff. Like it'll just, I mean, I don't know how incommensurable or fucked it is because I just haven't looked yet. Um, but I am fairly confident it is not completely incommensurable. Like I'm fairly confident that there's some ability to reconcile these things because like my shit
Yeah,
is
it's
basically
not.
simple. Like my stuff is a simpler version. Like you got to add stuff to it to make it at proto. Um,
Right. And also like you might users may only want to like publish some things, some nodes publicly, right? Or a category of nodes publicly or something like in a
yeah,
at proto PDS repository. They
yeah,
might not want. So that makes thinking about the integration of these things a little less hairy.
yeah. Like I mean, the goal would be like eventually that I can run, my instance of all things at proto on Intertwingler, and so when I put something on there, it'll go out, you know, I mean, modulo being told to,
Yeah.
but it can, right? Like
So yeah,
it's not an extra step. And so then there is still one location, there's one authoritative place where this blob of bytes is, whatever, right? There's
right.
one. And again, I don't know. I don't know how nuts that is. Like I don't know
No,
what that looks
it
like.
seems achievable, and I imagine there's value just because of the network effects of that proto. So like
Mhm.
getting people who are interested in the capabilities of Intertwingler to use it and then
Yeah.
say, hey, this is what I'm using, and it's tied to my app proto identity. And this kind of leads into something I've been thinking a lot about that's related to both our like blue sky conversation yesterday about at least I was calling it kind of like boundaries for
Mhm.
hosts because that's a term that Bonfire Social uses.
Mhm.
And you were talking about a dankness style.
Yeah.
I think all of that is very much tied into one of the core value propositions of the app protocol, which is this concept of like portable identity or portable profiles or portable accounts.
Mhm.
Blue Sky does just related to what Ted and Dan were talking about on Han-to-Han combat just now. Like basically, how do we think about almost unlocking network effects and getting more people to use atproto?
Mhm.
Um, Blue Sky has a lot of great messaging on their marketing websites
Yeah.
about things like, control your scroll,
Mhm.
algorithmic choice,
Mhm.
um, your timeline, your choice.
Mhm.
And all of these things are kind of tied to this concept of credible exit. Like that's
Mhm.
what kind of ties it all together and makes it work, right? Like if we have credible exit for our social graphs
Mhm.
and our social identities and our
Mhm.
social network content and activity streams, or at
Mhm.
least one of the three, if not two of the three or all three of the three, I think that unlocks a world where people don't even need to think about it being at proto, about it being this thing that's separate from big tech.
Mhm.
They just see an app and it has portable accounts or whatever built on app protocol, and
Yeah.
suddenly that has appeal over like a walled garden social app, right? Where you can't leave and take your
So
social graph with you.
one of the so just I wanna just air this quickly and we can just
Yeah.
get back to the stream. But one of the things that Ted uh, said was a sort of this sort of difference between having sort of responsibility and agency over like it's like a sort of an agency responsibility thing versus a customer service attitude where like you're like it's like I'm it's like that Paul Ford essay the why wasn't I consulted, the web is a it's like it's the web is a customer service medium or whatever it was.
Yeah.
um so the thing is when you're responsible for like when it's down to you, there's no manager to call, right? Like, and so like the thing I guess is like is imagining like where the contour is on like where it's me and my deal and like where it's somebody who's a service provider doing a thing for me and then they're responsible for this or that
Hmm.
or the other thing. And what I think so like did I ever tell you about the flight that got diverted? Um, so I was flying to Santa Barbara from SFO with my mom and brother one year for Christmas, I think it was. Um, and we were gonna land in Santa Barbara, and it turns out that there's fog, and I'd never experienced this before, but they divert the fucking plane to Bakersfield.
Hmm.
And uh so we land, we get off the plane in Bakersfield and we like motor like we fucking run to the car rental place and um we got the last car on the lot with like three randos like just
Yeah.
like and we're all in this fucking suburban driving from Bakersfield to Santa Barbara for like 3 hours. Like it's a
Yeah.
3 hour drive. Um, and and it's like a lawyer, a judge, and like an organic farmer. Like it's
Yeah.
anyway. And we but anyway, so we're in this freaking car and it's 3 hour long, and for the hell of it, I'm like, trying to look up the tail number of the airplane to
Hmm.
see if we beat it to Santa
Right.
Barbara, to see if it's taken off. And one of these people, they were like they called the it was just a website and they called it an app. Like they did not.
Yeah, yeah.
make the connection that it was a place, it was a thing,
Yeah.
not a place. And I think that when you sort of see just like the way that people are talking about it's like Twitter, you
Hmm.
know, it's an app and it's like it's just a front end onto some
Hmm.
servers. Like it's, it is, but so this is the thing is like I don't actually know like what people know anymore. Like it
Yeah.
reminds me of my a friend of mine who was doing like dial-up tech support in like 1995. And people would call up and they would think that the internet is like inside their computer, like where he's like, well, I don't
Hmm.
understand why I can't. And it's like, well, you need to connect. And they're like, I don't get it. I just click on
Yeah.
the E, you know. Um, and so the thing is that I'm like I don't know that I don't know or I don't know what they know or what they don't know. Like I don't know like what like even now, even 30 fucking years later, like do people not know that the internet is a place, or do they just think that it's a thing?
Right.
Like, do they not understand that
It's
when,
a it's definitely an education challenge, and
yeah,
like I'm thinking about it in the context of like I think we mentioned talked about yesterday, like how do we make it a meme?
yeah,
Like I don't think it's gonna be like make self-hosting easier. Like these things are very important, and like I'm glad the
yeah,
community's invested in them. At the same time, like I think atproto has a chance to become ubiquitous when it becomes legislated, like in the EU, that you must have portable
right,
accounts or portable social graphs or something.
yeah,
Um, and in order to make that, in order to bridge the gap between now and then, I'm
hmm
hoping we can educate people not on like, oh, blue sky is great, get on blue sky,
hmm
but on this concept of like blue sky is cool because it has portable accounts or portable identity or something. There's got to be some marketing term in there where we can explain the value of atproto without saying like, oh, it's all about login with atproto, because that's not a meme.
yeah, no, but you know what, um, like when I was working at Skip, like there were a few things. What?
I was just chuckling because we were talking about Skip yesterday.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. When I was working there, one of the things about Skip was like it was the same sort of thing as OpenID. Like people didn't understand
right,
like you put an email address or you put a URL. I can't remember
right.
what you put in, but so they didn't understand that like now it's sort of like okay, people put an email address in, they get that. But then people put my fucking email address in shit and to
Oh,
sign up
same.
and shit.
Yeah,
And it's so do you not like do you just think that this is your email address? So that they still don't understand,
yeah.
right? Like the level of
I get
comprehension.
like I get some other Christian Jacobs bank statements sent to my iCloud account every
Yeah, I'm
month.
sure. I get like the deeds to fucking houses and shit sent to me.
Yeah,
I get the little league, schedule and stuff.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
I get the guy's mechanics, and this is like
yeah,
12 different people.
yeah.
But I mean, neither here nor there. I mean, the thing is, um, and I mean, I guess the point that I was going to make about Skip though was Skip only did identity.
Yep.
And so you only had your identity and like maybe your like avatar or whatever
Which like
profile.
right, which like people forget about, right? It's I mean it's
Yeah.
similar to like a Gravatar situation where
Yeah.
it's like I still log into random shit and see my Gravatar from like 12 years ago pop up in the profile
Yeah.
photo and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Same. And I
That's
mean,
back of mind. Yeah.
well, and the other thing too is like Gravatar is a perfect example of a platform, and I think it's owned by Automatic now. I think,
I think so, yeah.
yeah. It's the perfect example of a platform that does literally one thing.
Yeah.
Like it maps in a hash of an email address. And I mean it's a clever thing. But it's like that's not a product. Like of course what were you gonna fucking do with that?
Right.
Um but like it's one of those things where it's like, oh,
I
if I
mean
want to
sell data.
add like What's that?
Sell data.
Yeah. Right. Well, it's like if I wanted to change my gravatar, fuck me. What email address did I log in with?
Right.
What was the password for that? I don't
I have
even
no
know.
idea, and I don't
Yeah.
think I can change it. Like, I really
Right.
don't. I really don't know. And that's where, like, this is a really interesting problem to me because not only do I think it's important that we make the concept of like portable accounts, for lack of a better term, go mainstream, but
Yeah.
like there are ways to do it, and maybe one way to do it is actually like getting people to talk about it in front of Congress someday or something,
Do
right?
you know what you
Um,
just? Sorry.
no, go
Oh,
ahead.
finish your thought.
Oh, well, there's that. And then, like, to your point, like, if it's just an identity proposition, like, it's not going to be sticky, or at least I think that's what you were getting at.
Well, yeah, like the what I was going to say was like what atproto does to me, um, that is beyond what Skip or Ping or any of that shit was doing 20 years ago, is that it's like it indexes your stuff. So I'm imagining a situation where, um, when you sort of think about something as inane as a profile picture,
Hmm.
I want my profile picture to be the same everywhere. I want it to be like me at the fucking beach, in during COVID when I'm wearing my wetsuit or whatever, right? I want that I want that to just propagate out. I should be able to set that in one place and it just works. It just goes out everywhere, and that is it for life. Now, I should have that capability. Same sort of deal. It's like if I want my resume updated or whatever, I shouldn't have to log into fucking LinkedIn and Indeed and
Right.
all that shit and put it all on there and then have it like
It
fucking
should be on your, like, for all intensive purposes, like, it should be on an equivalent of, like, your personal or data server or whatever. And it,
absolutely,
boom,
absolutely.
yeah. But then you need
Is
different versions of it too, because you might have one resume for Dorian the engineer and one resume for Dorian the architect.
sure.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but like, I mean, that is a whole thing because like then it's going to be, you got to think about personas and all that stuff. But like,
Right.
sure, like I'm not like as far as I'm concerned, if you can do one, you can do arbitrarily many. It's like Alan Cooper had this quip where he's like, programmers only understand three numbers, zero, one, and infinity.
Yeah.
Um, and it's true. It's like if you can do two, then you can do
Yeah.
infinite. Um, but the funny thing is he had that in a different context. Anyway, I should see how he's doing. Um, but yeah, like these kinds of things, like the kinds of things that are interesting, or like yeah, like you think about the pictures of your kids or what, like like all of these things that I mean, what's really kind of funny about that is it really disrupts, the ad model when you
It
start thinking about like
absolutely.
when
I
you
did a
start
whole
thinking,
thread on how like Proto is basically a poison pill for big tech, ad tech.
yeah, I could see that.
Like once they swallow the poison pill, suddenly
Mhm.
like people are just not going to use platforms that force ads on you
Yeah,
unless there's some sort of value exchange, right? So like I
yeah,
think that's the basis for the EU saying like, oh, if this unlocks unshackling us from the United States ad tech
yeah.
monopoly, so be it. Let's make it so, right?
Hmm. 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 Yeah. And I mean, like, there's really no reason why it wouldn't. Like
It's the thing. It's like the leverage point. Yeah.
so one of the things that I think about, like one thing that, and I need to write something about this. Um, I had like a sort of not like a Wardley map, but like it was a sort of phase space of
Oh, yeah.
like SaaS. And I was like, okay, like what I can't really remember like what it actually like the idea was just sort of like how ubiquitously like how sort of kitchen sinky is it versus like yeah like how basically how like when you sort of think about like in the top right corner would be like Salesforce and SAP and shit like it would be all
Hmm.
that Monday, you know, or whatever, like all those
Hmm.
awful enterprise things that you're just like they're like a roach motel, like you
Hmm.
are you once you sign that contract you are never getting off that
Yeah.
platform, like it's not going to fucking happen. um you know, but then there's stuff like Twilio and Mailgun and I mean I think oh no, SendGrid is Twilio, Mailgun, I can't remember, but like they're these sort of um like narrow vertical
Hmm.
uh ones where it's like if I don't like Twilio anymore for whatever reason, I mean I don't think you can get the numbers off of it, but like you could go to a competitor,
Oh, you
you know.
can.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can't
Th-
remember.
This is this is actually an equivacy I've been talking about a lot is phone number portability.
Mm-hmm.
So like we have phone number portability worldwide kind of kicked off, I think, I don't know if it was the US that did it first, but it
Mm-hmm.
was a fast follow in 2003, I think. And like we have
Right.
phone number portability that's federally mandated in over 100 countries, but we
Mhm.
don't have social graph portability. And I do think it should be a human right.
Yeah. So I think that like I mean there's that aspect like um the um but then of course to me the issue is data semantics. Like what does any of this shit mean, right? Like what is it and then you have the yeah, like you've basically got the lexicon issue and so on and so forth.
I
And it's
think
like
this is where you need something like PCI compliance auditing or web content accessibility guidelines conformance auditing for atproto conformance. So like you're not conforming with or complying with the spirit of the law in a world where there might be a law, right? If your shit doesn't, if the social graph isn't actually interoperable.
yeah, yeah, sure. I mean, like, but the thing, I guess, yeah. I mean, I guess the thing is like if you have a mechanism, the thing is like there is a mechanism. It's called lexicon, right? Like
Right.
there, um, there is a mechanism, and then the question is sort of like, well, how do you, uh, um, how do you propagate that mechanism? How do you make it so that like
Hmm.
as long as you can resolve to that mechanism, it's fine.
Right.
Um, but like um you know like what I'm saying is that like you got to build that mechanism out, like that's what was missing 20 years ago,
Right.
was like that was, and the other thing too was also like just like the you know drive capacity, you know, just hardware was, you know, not it was just wasn't cheap enough to
Yeah.
give everybody however many gigabytes or whatever, you know, like there wasn't. But I think that like I think what's happening, and I mean if you're saying that like app proto like the whole point of it is payments,
Well, I think
um
that's I think that's a monetization
mhm,
lever that Blue Sky is going to use. Yeah.
yeah, but I mean like
Like you need a way to fund this ecosystem, right? If it's not going to be a big ad tech funded, like,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I mean you're gonna need
revenue.
some kind
Yeah.
of with some kind of mechanism, but like some yeah some kind of but I can't remember what the I guess I mean um what's interesting about like you just got me sort of thinking like ads, when you sort of think about like what, like if you control the pipe and then
Hmm.
people, so you know you got people on the other end of the pipe, they want what's coming out of the pipe,
Hmm.
and you can put into the pipe, you've got other people who are on the other side saying, we see that you have this pipe that people are taking stuff out of. Can you put my thing in the pipe? Um, and I will pay you. I will pay you to put my thing in the pipe. Um, and and so that now, if nobody owns the pipe, like if the pipe is sort of one of those things where like effectively it's one of those things where like you need it to do anything, but at the same time it's like it's so commodity that it's not worth, like, you can't do the ad thing because the pipe
Right.
uh
Like we're effectively talking about the commoditization of like the fire hose if we're talking about like app
yeah,
proto infrastructure, right? So like imagine a world where Blue Sky runs a fire hose
yeah,
because they have some monetization model that supports that and makes it worth their while.
yeah,
Maybe X runs a fire hose when
yeah,
they become app proto interoperable, which I predict will happen. Um, Maybe the EU runs a fire hose. Maybe Canada runs a fire hose, like Gander
yeah,
Social. Maybe different governments start running fire hoses, right?
yeah, yeah. And the other thing too that's sort of interesting about that is um like the the
Or I
sort
should
of
say relays, because you can aggregate them into a fire hose, multiple relays, I think. But I digress. Sorry.
yeah, I mean, just sort of the relay. I mean, because the relay, if I'm not mistaken, is the expensive thing. Like it's expensive. Sorry, no, it's not the
It's,
most. The app view is the most expensive part, right? The PDS is the cheapest, right? Resource
I mean,
wise.
sure, I imagine so. All of it can be run like relatively inexpensively, compared to like alternatives, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I guess I'm what I'm thinking about is the um just like the sort of the like I guess what I'm sort of thinking of is like the thing if the thing fuck if the thing that you need to get the content is the fire hose, is the relay,
Mhm.
and the relay is too big to run by yourself in your house. It's just too chatty. It's just, like you're not going to be able to, like, you might be able to do it for now, but like you would need something in a data center somewhere chowing through that if you wanted to run one yourself, but you could, and it's manageable. Um, but what I'm sort of thinking is like, again, like the issue of like putting ads in there, I guess you would need the app view, but again, the same thing, you would have to put the
It
ads in
could
the
be
app,
at the So
right?
yeah, I mean you can look at like this diagram, I think to help mind's eye visualize it. I can share my screen. Um,
Hmm.
so like you have users who are using apps
Yeah,
which connect you with your Blue Sky profile data store. And the relay almost acts like a search index where it's like indexing the different PDSs
yeah,
for
yep,
posts, and then it's putting it in a fire hose, which then are consumed and interact with labelers, feed generators, which allow you
yeah.
to have like custom feeds. Um,
So the feed generator is where you would put the ads, or the app view is
the
where you would put
feeds,
the,
yes.
yeah. And
Yeah,
so
so
I
you
guess,
you could run a hyper valuable feed called the web design news feed or something and
yeah,
curate it through a combination of algorithms and hand curation and like whitelisting accounts, whatever else, right? And
mhm,
like you could be collect payment for ads and post ads. That's on that feed. And that's Gray's Social's whole business model, right? Like
right,
if you go to like Gray's, that's their whole sales pitch is basically you can create your own feed using their toolbox, and
right,
then you can list your feed in the marketplace and people can buy ads from you.
yeah, yeah,
And there will
which
be
is
multiple grazes. There will be multiple, yeah.
Yeah, which is, I mean, like I'm not like totally averse to ads like
Likewise, yeah.
existing. It's more like we're gonna, we're gonna make it so that like it's only ads, and the only we're gonna give you this thing for free. In return, we're going to steal your data, and then
Right, because at that
kind of
point, the
manage you.
incentives are basically addict children and make them use
Yeah,
app as much as possible. And we can agree that's bad for society, right? Like studies
sure. Yeah,
show.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, and we can agree that it's bad. Um, but it's but I guess, well, yeah. So I guess, I mean, what it sort of like, it does sort of have the potential to just completely overturn, the entire ecosystem. And I
I
guess what,
see that. I really see that. And I think like back in the day, we had what like app.net and diaspora and all these different ideas. We went through the age of platforms. And I think the community, the developer community, and the technology, to your point, and the price of infrastructure, none of that had converged to the point where it was likely that something like atproto was going to emerge until just the last handful of years, right? Like a
yeah,
crazy series of events led to this happening. And some of it does rely on like the Web3 crypto craze gave us some good ideas like IPFS that we can model content addressable shit after in atproto, right? Like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
an interesting time to be alive.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, like um, uh, like the thing about crypto is, I mean, the funny, like it's funny how like there's this almost like social script. Like I personally find crypto boring as fuck. Like if you ever hang out with crypto people, like they are so fucking boring. Like they're like these little they like, do you know like the fucking, like the Foghorn Leghorn cartoons with the weasel, and he's like
Yeah.
right? Like they're like that guy. Um and even the most earnest ones, like what they're trying to do is they're trying to like they're gonna make a coin, and then they're gonna
I
like
actually
what?
I'm gonna jump in really quick. I think like I agree with you generally, but I do think there is like a certain type of crypto person that's
Mhm.
net good. Like
Yeah.
there's like for example the Kawakfi Foundation is doing some really interesting things with how do you enable people to run small businesses in corrupt countries
Mhm.
where the fiat currency is like unusable.
Sure.
And they're doing really cool things with like I think maybe Lightning and Bitcoin to empower people during times of tumult to like build sustainable businesses. And then the
Mhm.
other scenario that I think is interesting, or scenarios, are like corporate credit cards in emerging markets or corporate bank cards
Yeah.
enabled by crypto and things like Stellar XLM where it's like the underlying technology of a lot of MoneyGram now, I think. So you can do like
So,
low cost international payments. But I think in general, I agree with you. Yeah.
I was going to finish is what these guys always want to do is they want to create a thing like a coin or something and
Hmm.
then get seigniorage from it. Like they want to own a chunk.
Right.
It's like Vitalik Buterin owning, whatever, like 25% of all Ethereum
Right.
he still owns. And it's like, and at the outset, like it was a huge gamble. Like who the fuck knows, right? Like what it would have turned into like at the time. Um, but everybody looks at that and goes like, I'm gonna do that too. Like that is like the for the most part the most creative they get. And then
Yeah.
and then there's like a teeny tiny number of people that are doing more interesting stuff than that.
Right.
But like and then the vast majority are just like straight up fucking shitcoin scammers, right? They're just
Yes.
like, or they're just doing something like they're trying to like shoehorn fucking blockchain into something that just isn't gonna, and it's all just stupid, awful ideas for the most part. but yeah, no, like what I'm trying to say, I'm not trying to say that there's like I don't think it's a like I don't believe that cryptocurrency is 100% scams and crime and money laundering. Like I don't think it's 100%. I think it's like 99.9999% maybe. Like
Totally
um
agree.
and I mean if it doesn't bother me that much. Like it doesn't like I'm not like one of those people who are like, oh, like you've looked at crypto, you're a fucking criminal. Like I'm not that person, and I think those people are fucking completely overreacting, frankly.
Yeah.
Um, but you know, but yeah, for the most part, like just even like that, uh, even the summer protocols thing, I would say like probably most of those people were like some of the most interesting crypto adjacent people
Yeah.
that I've interacted with. But like, and that was because they weren't doing crypto per se. They just had like, they were just adjacent to it. They weren't,
Right.
um,
Cryptography has a long,
well,
rich
I mean,
history.
cryptography. This is
Yeah.
the thing is most of the people doing cryptocurrency are not
Yeah.
doing cryptography. They don't know shit about
Right.
actual cryptography. Um, but I guess I mean the thing is with but like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the same thing with AI too. Like, fucking so much shit in AI is so fucking dumb. And I mean, it's just not interesting. Like, it's just not like, oh, what are you doing? Okay, so you leased, a fucking pipe to ChatGPT or Claude or whatever, and then you're what?
This is
Like,
the Chat GPT wrapper conversation, right?
yeah,
Did you read that article I linked to you by Ben, very brief Medium article by Ben Taylor about transduction?
no, maybe. Oh, was that yesterday? I think I was
I think
on.
it was yesterday evening or maybe
I didn't
Wednesday
realize it was
evening.
actually. Let me look here.
Medium is trash. Like I subscribe to Medium just so I can read articles. I pay like $5 a month, but like I can't wait until there's a Medium alternative on atproto where I can
Yeah.
just donate to creators directly instead of going through like this overstaffed
That's
financialized
the
blogging platform.
that's the thing about like I like Medium, like all of that like the thing about fucking platforms is they're so like the deal is just terrible.
It
Like the
is. And it's
deal
like you
is
have these people with great ideas. Like I think it was Ev Stone or whatever Twitter co-founder who started Medium, right? Like the whole
yeah,
idea was to be like long form Twitter, but
yeah,
they're so overly financialized.
yeah. There it is. Found it.
Yeah.
Jesus
Anyway,
Christ.
the reason I bring that up is because you were talking about AI and like
Mhm.
at its core, a thread I've been following the last few days is that like LLMs, well, generative pre-trained transformers like Chat GPT, like these chat UIs are all transduction engines at the end of the
Uh,
day. Like they're very similar to like the way personalized search engines operate.
mhm.
And like, yeah, the like transduction is important. You can do automated translation with it,
Yeah.
but like this only works in so many use cases. It's not like generally applicable to all things forever, right?
Yeah, it's not. And it's I mean, it's funny because I was having like conversations with people. It's so funny, like I would consider myself like as a rule, like I can sort of distance myself from the like moral aspect of of a subject matter of a conversation, like reasonably okay. Like I can talk about stuff without getting like mad that it exists, you
Right.
know? Um, and so, it's kind of exhausting having, oh, well, this is why this thing is bad. And it's like, maybe like okay that it's bad. I'm not the in the case of like like we shouldn't even be talking about fucking LLMs because they consume all the power or whatever, right? Or they're doing whatever, and it's like the fact that these things exist is bad, and you're
Yeah. I
bad for
mean,
even
people are
talking about
looking for reasons they're bad
yeah,
because they're seeing how the hype
yeah,
affects them. Yeah.
yeah. And I mean the thing is it's funny. It's like when I look at like Venkat Rao's Slack, his Ribbon Farm Slack.
Hmm.
on the screen right now. They've got an AI channel in there, and it's like basically half a dozen guys like fucking with Claude code all day long, and and they're chatting about what they're doing with Claude. Just like I don't think they're as useful. Like I don't think they're not useful. Like I don't think like I think that there is a there. Like, and I'm not going to
Hmm.
pretend that like they don't do anything.
Hmm.
Right? I'm
Yeah.
not going to pretend that they're not effective. But like the thing that's been interesting to me about like the way that I think about it is it's like you've got this like initial bifurcation starting in 1955 with the coining of the term artificial intelligence, and it's deterministic and statistical. And these are and if you look at like that the McCarthy paper that kicked off the entire thing where
Yeah.
he's trying to pitch the
AI
Dartmouth
research project. Yeah.
thing, um he's talking about like what it reads like is like it just sounds like they're like we're going to learn how to program computers. Like we're going to learn how to like do use computers. That's like that is like the way that they're talking about it is just like the shit that we just take for granted when
Yeah.
we're just programming in general. Like that's
A
just
lot
what.
of that, like, I think that paper in that research project was kind of based on the concepts that have been discussed in the Macy conferences around cybernetics. Like, the epiphany people had in the 40s at the Macy conferences was basically like, oh, what if we looked at how organisms and the human body interacts with its environment and try to learn from it? And
Yeah,
also, let's have transdisciplinary people who are neurosurgeons talk to other people who are, you know,
yeah, yeah.
biologists who are, yeah.
But
And like it turns out if you like mimic the way we talk when you think about how to design computers, like you can do some cool shit.
mhm. Yeah, and to me, when I sort of think about like again, like I go back to those three blue, one brown, that one series about the about all the how like neural nets work and stuff. Like that is like
Yeah.
fucking bang on as and it really sort of helped me think about what's going on and what isn't going on. But what I wanted to say was is like again, like initial bifurcation, deterministic, statistical. Now, deterministic is just fucking programming. It's just programming. That's what it
Yeah.
is. Um, and statistical is like you're programming something and then you've got a bunch of parameters that come from data,
Hmm.
right? Like you've got a huge function that takes like all these parameters, and in the case of an LLM, it takes a vector or a matrix, chunk in matrix or a bunch of matrices as a parameter. So you can just think like F bracket, blah, and then close bracket, and that is your thing, right? And uh, um, and the thing is like what makes it statistical is you don't really know what's in there, right? You're not 100% sure what state that's in. And the difference is like we know on the in the deterministic branch we know, whereas the statistical one we don't. We have understandings
Yeah.
of the general contours of what's gonna be in there, but we don't know exactly, and we don't know
Yeah.
exactly how it's gonna behave. And and because we don't know exactly how it's going to behave, but like, but we don't know what it's going to make mistakes in certain cases that we don't know what, we don't know how, just what it's going to do. And, and what that means is it's just going to be wrong. It'll get things right most of the time, and then sometimes it'll get things wrong. And, and what's happening is that in the um, in the deterministic branch, it is so reliable that that you can only get a fuck up if the hardware fucks up. And the only way that the hardware is going to fuck up is a literal cosmic ray. I was just the Risky Biz podcast I was listening to on the way back from the pool yesterday. They were talking about Airbus updated some firmware and in the avionics. And then there was a plane that was flying, and the ram got hit with a cosmic ray, flipped a bit, and it caused the tail fins or something like that to fucking screw up or something.
I think that like just
And
happened. Yeah.
yeah, like it literally just happened.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's the kind of failure mode, and the only way that that happened was like apparently they had some redundancy that that they must have had gotten rid of because if they rolled it back, like it was fine. Um, but um, but the bottom line is like it is hard to get a fuck up with deterministic code if assuming that you have ways to prove that you've got
Yeah.
mechanisms for determining like deterministic code is not necessarily deterministic if it's Turing complete because you can reassign what it means and shit like that, which is its own problem. But like if there are ways to prove that certain things do certain things and only
Yeah.
certain things. Um, and but like you just can't get that from the statistical stuff. But what you can get is like the again the three blue one brown guy had this thing about handwriting recognition. He's like, imagine you have like, and I've used this example before. Like, imagine you have a thing that reads checks, like handwritten checks, and so and you can get this now, right, with your bank app. Like, if you have a check for whatever reason, you get your phone out and you just take a picture of it, and it deposits the check. It knows how much is it for, and so on and so forth. It figures it out. Um, But like so when you think of all the ways that you can write a one, two, three, four, five, through nine, through zero, whatever, when you can think of all the ways that you can write a number, um, if you were going to try to write deterministic code to try to interpret like the pixels
Hmm.
of, of a representation of a number, like you would have an endless amount of code and it would be fucking hot garbage. And
Hmm.
you would get all these edge cases, it would just suck shit. And so like it makes sense to get a neural net, train it on a bunch of samples, and then use that instead because like even if it gets it wrong sometimes, it's going to get it right most of the time because that class of problem it's going to do a better job. But the thing is in that case, if it gets the wrong number, it's not the end of the world, at least from the bank's perspective, right? Like, if it gets the number off by an order
No,
of
because
magnitude,
yeah,
like,
there are failure modes built
yeah,
in, and there are, yeah,
yeah, there's like say
fail
there's like
safes,
there's fail safes built in, and it's like the worst case scenario is like the wrong number gets deposited, and then
and there's
like
recourse.
and there's recourse exactly, so
Yeah.
you can fix it. And what's happening to me, like what seems to be happening is in AI land, it's like let's shove the AI into places where the statistical nature of it is just not being accounted for. Like the fact that it can be wrong is just
Oh,
not.
constantly. Yeah. I mean, there's all these things require like very careful attention to, I guess you could say like method and structure, which is a
Well,
funny, uh, ironic term,
not
but
ironic.
like,
There was a
yeah,
reason for naming it that.
right. And people who practice like systems design and think about systems design and think about information architecture and content design are
Mhm.
like uniquely well positioned to make use of these probabilistic like transduction engines. Like if
Uh,
you historically have been thinking in terms of like target audiences and their needs and their top tasks, and you're writing content templates
mhm,
that describe, the intent of the user and the business goal for the content chunk or whatever else, you are doing the thing that people describe when they say prompt engineering. And like
mhm.
very quickly, you can go from being a content designer or an information architect working on ontologies to someone who can make use of these probabilistic pieces of software. Um, so yeah, I think it's silly to like throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah, like again, like my issue with these things is first of all is like it's not clear to me that you need $1 billion or whatever in infrastructure. Like it's not clear to me that like like
I agree. Yeah, I was just
when
watching an interview with the CEO of Anthropic, and he was basically like, "Yeah, you don't need all the money OpenAI is trying to raise."
yeah, yeah, and I don't think you do, and I don't think that like, and I also think that like it isn't clear. I mean, this is the thing is me not knowing anything about this is like, do you need and I mean, I guess this is the thing is it sort of like show me the hardware, like like when I think about say like what people are doing with Claude Code, because this was the thing, this is what everybody in Vencat's
Hmm.
Treehouse is doing right now is so they've got like they're running three agents, like they've got the one doing the architecture and the one doing the coding and the one doing
Yeah.
the testing, and they've got like all this scaffolding and shit. And what's really quite interesting is like the amount of documentation people are writing now more than ever, right? They're
They're like
writing,
finally writing good specs.
yeah, exactly. They're finally
And
writing
like,
good specs because
yeah,
the thing is the bot is doing the coding, and it's like, and the code is like totally disposable. You can toss it out and you can make a new. And now the
yeah,
thing is, to me, the failure mode there is when it just won't do it, and then you gotta like, and you can waste a lot of time trying to friggin' coax it into doing stuff, where and it just
yeah.
won't. Or it's like I could have written that myself. Like, and the other thing too is also I. I mean, it would be interesting. Like, this is just me completely fucking hallucinating this here potentially. Is um like the oops is there's a lot of application development. Like when you look at applications, and it doesn't matter if it's a phone app or if it's a web app or a desktop app. Applications are kind of all the same in this way. They got a UI, and the UI, like they've got an MVC more or less, where they've got some data store or some network service or whatever, or maybe they've got both. And then they have controllers that interoperate with that, and then they paint that back to the surface, to the display surface, or the UI or whatever. So they're all the same in that regard. And they yoke together a bunch of libraries, and the libraries are the things that actually do the work. Um, and so like what that sounds like to me is a shit ton of training data that's like very, very similar modulo the library calls.
Yeah, I mean,
Now,
it's when I look at like tools like Lovable and I give it a command to generate a prototype of something, like it's doing the same thing as what I would be doing if I wrote thorough specs, which I still need to do with Lovable, and then
yeah,
copy and pasted the templates out of Next.js or something and filled them in.
yeah, yeah. And um but I guess the thing is, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. The libraries themselves. So
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
the thing that I am skeptical about, is that if you had to write a library, like well, it doesn't have any training data on that.
Like
If
a
the
new one, a
library,
novel one to solve a new
yeah,
use case. Yeah,
yeah, like if you were writing libraries, like like if the library existed, you wouldn't need to write the library. If there was sample data out there already about what the library looked like and how it worked, you wouldn't need to write it. You could just use it. It would already be there.
yeah,
Um, and um, and so so it's like whereas apps are all the same structurally, libraries are all different. And so like I mean, it would be interesting to know. Like I don't feel like going down that rabbit hole just to find out it doesn't work. Like,
hmm,
but the bet that I would make is that if you're trying to write libraries, you probably don't get the same results. You probably don't get as good results writing libraries as you do writing apps. And the thing is like the vast majority of people write apps and they use libraries.
yeah,
Um, but the people writing libraries, yeah, I don't know. I just my hunch is LLMs don't work as good for libraries. They
yeah.
just why would they? Right? Like why
I
would
think
they?
they, I think they produce, they generate, they remix.
Yeah.
words and their equivalents in video media generation, like Sora equally like generate multimedia.
Mhm.
But like these things, I'm not going to say the video generation stuff is useful, although maybe it has some use cases where it is. But
Ads.
yeah, I guess. Um, great. We need more ads. Uh, but the
No, it'll be
text
like,
generations, yeah, the
sorry.
text generation stuff is like can be interesting for coming up with potential concepts, if you write thorough specifications. Just like I do think like search result summaries are useful if you ask for them and they are describing a list of links that are on the page that you can go and interrogate so that they're actually generating content from inspectable sources. Like these things have applications and I appreciate having them around. But yeah, I'm skeptical that they're gonna
Yeah, like,
replace cancer researchers.
so yeah, I mean,
Like,
well,
come
that
on.
that whole thing is a problem in itself. Just the conflation of like the models that are doing cancer research are not fucking ChatGPT. Like they are some, you know, one-off thing that was trained on custom, whatever. Like it wasn't
As
just like,
you've said, like, yeah, statistical computing, like,
yeah.
it was the product of research,
Hmm.
but that doesn't make it, yeah, the same thing as an LLM.
Yeah. And it's not like it's also like, you know, you don't need or like you just don't need the resources. Like, you don't need the money. Like you don't
No.
need the entire internet worth of content to to do that. Like you can do like my understanding is you can do quite a bit with like not even that many samples.
Hmm.
Um and and uh and so like it's not like it's just a characteristic um of the just the technology. I mean, it's like it's fine. Like the thing is like the technology in general, I don't have any problem with it. Like what I have problems with is like, oh, like let's just shove the credit card into Anthropic,
Yeah,
and
we're
that's
coming
just
back
part
to
of,
over-financialization of a
yeah.
thing. Like, it's people trying to win big investors
Yeah.
and they're investing in people who are willing to play those games, but like play stupid games,
Mhm.
win stupid prizes.
Yeah. Reminds me of oh yes. I try to find the I'm gonna send this to you, but I'm gonna send it on Signal
Yeah.
because
I mean, this brings us full circle back to like the conversation of like, okay, what are the leverage points for freeing us from some of these kind of wicked financialization incentives? And I
well,
do,
I
it,
just think
it
it's
does feel like one of those core primitives that could really release us from the clutches of some of these systems is like portable identity and portable social graphs.
owning your fucking data, like
Owning your data, yeah.
literally
But
having
make it
your
accessible, yeah.
yeah, owning your data, like being able to own your data, being able to fit like, and it's like it's one thing. Like when I sort of think about like, okay, like if I pay DigitalOcean $5 a month or whatever for a VB
Hmm.
app, it's like it could be anywhere. It could be any company. Like
Hmm.
they all give you the same interface.
The
It's
same thing,
all
yeah.
same fucking thing. And it's like I could blow that up, that relationship up, and go and spin up a new one, with whatever the hell competitor. What?
Yeah, this actually, like, yes. And this reminds me of an anecdote that repeated itself throughout my earlier career. I used to do privacy, like data privacy consulting for like CCPA and GDPR and all these things, right?
Mhm.
Um, Mostly because I was working for consultancies in the tech consultancies in the marketing space. Companies would come to us and say, like, oh, we need to be privacy conformant. How do we do that?
Mhm.
And a lot of the typical approach is basically hire a data privacy vendor and go through this implementation process. A popular vendor is OneTrust. And
Hmm.
basically, you hire them and they give you all these forms to fill out. You do this conformance process where you do like a data inventory to look up like people's personal and private data, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. List all your vendors, their data privacy policies.
Hmm.
And to conform with CCPA, for example, like you need to be able to provide a mechanism for customers to say, like, uh, delete my personal data or do not use my personal data for advertising or whatever. For GDPR, it's similar. There's like a right to be forgotten. So
Hmm.
like you can actually request a company to delete your data. What I saw time and time again, even with companies using OneTrust, which by the way is funded by VC investors who mostly made their money off of ad tech to begin with, people implementing OneTrust don't actually set up the pipes necessary to efficiently process a right to be forgotten request. So if you're
Hmm.
like, hey, I want my email address deleted or whatever, my name deleted, my address deleted, it's usually a manual process to do that because there's no central repository of your data, even though OneTrust kind of like sells itself as that. And you can configure it to be that. It just requires a lot of different integrations with a lot of different vendors. Um, I think the PDS that atproto provides could also be a mechanism. You're talking about own your own data. It could be a mechanism to make GDPR and CCPA conformance way easier. If you're
Hmm.
storing customer profile data on their profile data server, then the customer can delete it themselves. Like they then
Yeah.
have user control and freedom over who gets to see their personal data. And you could then legislate, hey, it's illegal to keep a copy of customer data outside of like normal business purposes.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is basically
It
this
provides the
case for
pipes.
for credit cards, right? Like that's already in there for credit cards.
Similar for PCI conformance.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember consulting for people and finding out that they, let's say there's like a
Oh,
cruise
everybody
ship.
stored it all anyway. Like,
Yeah, yeah. Let's say there's like a cruise ship and it's in the middle of the ocean. Like, how are they processing credit cards 10 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever it was? They were putting them all in an Excel spreadsheet and then running them once they got back to port. And did
yeah.
they ever delete them? No.
Fuck no. No, of course not. You're not gonna delete that. Are you kidding? No, no, nobody in their right mind would do that. So that knows so these Excel spreadsheets full of credit cards for rich
There's
freaking
like a 30
boomers.
megabyte Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah. Right. Oh my God.
Anyway,
Yeah. But yeah, I think that the the sort of the um just like there's a shit ton of opportunity. I think just the thing is like for me, like yeah, like it really is like there needs to be like a layer, like a commodity layer to the extent that yeah, it's got to be like a digital ocean. And DigitalOcean, it's a
so
fine
this
business.
is, yeah, so this is something that when I reached out and asked if you had 30 minutes to riff on something, this is
Yeah.
exactly what I'm thinking about. So like I've bought a few random domains,
Uh-huh.
things like portable identity or
Mhm.
portableaccount.com,
Okay.
um, and accountportability.com, I think like at dash ID.com. And I've been
Mhm.
thinking about like, okay, what if a foundation
Mhm.
created like a really compelling, easy to use at proto identity management or account management app. So like you could go to Blue Sky and instead of clicking sign in with Blue Sky, you might click a button that says like sign in with portable identity.
Mhm.
And then that button opens up portableaccount.com or something.
Mhm.
And that's where you create your account and pick your PDS provider. And there's like a default one that's free, and maybe the default one's Blue Sky or whatever, right? But you
Mhm.
have the option in that app interface to create like a professional profile and a personal like microblogging profile or like a photo stream profile.
Mhm.
And there's like one place to switch between those identities
Mhm.
and manage them. Like, could that help kind of create a situation where instead of relying on Blue Sky when you're a new app and you're building Intertwingler,
Mhm.
or you're a new app and you're building Teal FM, which is like Last FM, instead of saying log in with Blue Sky, maybe it's like log in with this branded thing that's stewarded by a foundation. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I mean that's basically what people have been like.
OpenID like tried to do that.
Yeah, um, there's a lot of there's it's yeah, it's a dodgy thing because what ends up happening, well, it's like people have called it the what do they call it? The fucking um the NASCAR problem. So you go to the NASCAR page, like log in with all of the different
Log in with
things.
Google, log in with Twitter, log in with fucking
Yeah.
Microsoft, log in with Apple, log
And
in with
there's not going
email.
to be, it's not
Okta.
obvious. Yeah. It's not, yeah, it's not obvious who the, like, it's like if I was grandma, or whatever, like if I don't want to say grandma, but if I was, you know, if I was random normal, if I was one of those people who was in the damn car on the way from Bakersfield to Santa Barbara, you know, who uh uh like what would they think about that? And at this juncture, like it
At this
is
juncture, like I'm not thinking about tomorrow. I'm thinking about 5 years from now, right? Like
okay.
let's imagine that in 2 years or a year, when you go to Blue Sky, instead of like create Blue Sky account, it's
Um,
something like sign in with
yeah.
a portable account or sign in with portable identity or something like that.
Yeah, they're
And then like the flow is something like create new profile data server or store
I
with Blue
think
Sky or connect from identity wallet or something like that.
I think it would have to be associated. This is the thing is it just thinking back to Skip, you know.
Yeah,
I think it would have to be associated with a thing. So
right.
let's
And
say
the
there's
thing
like
has to be like it could be like authenticatedtransfer.com or something. It could be like
but
identity.com. Like we can
what
buy a brand
but
name,
what
right?
what I mean though is like imagine that you have a thing that you care about.
Well, it goes back to the place thing you were talking about before.
Yeah.
There has to be a sense of place, right?
Yeah. But like imagine that you've got like a forum or something like that. Like you've got something that you care about, something that you care about in your life.
Hmm.
When I think of grandma again, I think let's say knitting. So like what, like Ravelry or something like that, right? Where, like I'm on my knitting forum and it turns out that the knitting forum is atproto enabled.
Hmm.
And when I go to another random website, it turns out that, that my knitting forum just I can just log in with that.
Yeah.
And that is the kind of experience that I think that you would need. Like you would need the thing that, like, I joined this thing, this, and then the identity just kind of like grows beyond the boundary of the of the individual platform.
Yeah, I mean in my mind it would be very similar to how Google manages identity. Like if you have a Gmail account and you also have a workspace account and you also have a workspace account for someone you work for or whatever, you can sign into all those things and switch between sessions. And you
Yeah.
can also assign delegated accounts. You can have like you can delegate your brand social account or Google account to your intern or whatever, right?
Hmm.
And like if there were like a common if there were common providers that provided that type of experience and like
Yeah.
maybe one of them's a foundation based in the EU, maybe one of them's a foundation based in Canada.
Sure.
Um, I think like I mean the appeal wouldn't be to go to, portableidentity.com and get a portable identity or whatever.
Yeah.
The appeal
Which
would
is
be
what
like
Skip was doing.
right,
Like,
like the appeal would be like, oh, Instagram doesn't support portable identity, but Flickr does. I'm
hmm
going to use my photo stream. I'm going to log into Flickr with my photo stream portable identity. And I'm going
hmm
to log into LinkedIn with my professional portable identity. And the portable identity is tied to that profile data store where you might have your resume, you might have,
hmm
I don't know, like this is the future I'm imagining it would be fun to kind of like sketch out and kind of like user journey map.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is like there have been there have been people who have been like thinking about this shit for like a long
Right.
time. Like,
But they haven't had the fucking pipes. Like this is the first time we
yeah,
have the pipes.
yeah. Like they've been thinking about, and I mean, I think the thing is, again, when I sort of think about, like, like it really matters to have your stuff. Like it really
Yeah.
matters, like, and that's why this didn't kick off 20 years ago is
Hmm.
because you didn't have your stuff. It's like, oh, it's got some fields. Who gives a shit about the like it's like that's
Yeah.
it's convenient. Like we had this thing called Score. That was what I was working on at Skip. So SXORE. And what
Hmm.
it was like Discus, right? Like blog comments that you would just JavaScript into your blog, which is fucking redonkulous anyway.
I
But like,
remember Discus. Yeah.
yeah, it's presumably still around. But so the idea behind Score was like it was like a bootstrapping thing for the Skip protocol.
Yeah.
And and it was like, yeah, like you would just log it would just be logged in. So like, and the idea was is like if you were commenting on a blog, you didn't have to log in because you were just logged in. And see, I mean, but Discus does that. If you're logged into Discus, that you there you are.
Hmm.
And as long as you've logged in once, it'll keep the session cookie around, whatever. So like that's not like it was never really that compelling. Like it was never really
Hmm.
like a thing.
It looks like
But
Skip is still like around,
not no
and
shit.
there's like a crypto version of Skip.
That's funny.
The latest draft at the IETF
What?
was written in 2024. The secure key integration protocol, or is it something
No,
else?
SXIP.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, it's long gone, and there was
Different
never
thing.
ITF. Um, okay, that would have been weird. Um,
Secure key integration protocol, yeah, it's a different thing. Quantum resistant.
yeah, it's not that. Um, but
Oh, I found the thing from the position paper for the W3C for your skip.
okay. I mean, I'm sure the detritus is still out there, but Skip. Like, I mean, what was interesting. I mean, what was interesting about it was like, I mean, just the I like the it was a need that if you understood anything, you would understand the need. Like if it's one of those things where like if you get it kind of thing.
Yeah,
It's just like the decentralization aspect of like why is any of this? Like why would you care about credible exit, for example? Like why?
right. And like
And it's like,
we know why you care about credible exit. We don't
yeah,
know why you would care about something like skip unless it's tied to something like a PDS. And
right.
then it's like, oh, okay. So it not only does it take the burden of hosting
Mhm,
like people's personally identifiable information potentially
mhm.
uh, off of businesses and organizations and kind
Well,
of
that was Skip
offloads
was
that to
supposed to do
users.
that too, right? Like that was
Oh,
the
really?
thing
Okay.
is it like the thing that Skip was supposed to do was signing up to websites, signing up and keeping your profile data up to date, uh,
Okay.
and then logging in on top of that. So like
Okay.
obviously logging in was part of that,
So
but like
similar.
signing. So like Okta probably does a lot of that too.
Yeah.
Um, but but yeah, it was a matter of signing up, because it's like all these websites. Oh my God, all these websites I have to sign up to. It's so
Yeah.
hard. I have to put my name in 100 times and my profile picture. Wouldn't there just be a way to deal with that? And it's like, yeah, like it is annoying to have to sign up to a million websites, but now we have 5 websites. Um,
Yeah.
uh, but or we don't even have websites anymore. We've got apps now.
Yeah.
But like that, so that problem is still there. But yeah, like it wasn't a good enough reason.
Yeah.
Um,
And the
and
reasons we have now hopefully can be tied into like the whole billionaire proof, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, algorithmic choice, yada yada yada.
yeah, I mean the thing is like the algorithmic choice stuff. I mean, yeah, like what I kind of feel like there needs to be is like a gradient of clue. Like a cluefulness gradient, where at the very, very top of the gradient, you've got the decentralized pilled, like
Yeah,
freaking,
you've got
cipher
nerds
wizard.
and then you've got grandma and like
Yeah. And you've
and
got
then
to
you've
have,
got
but
TikTok
like,
kids and you've got
but what I mean though is I mean like I'm talking about like actually educating people
yeah,
about the things that they go up the gradient,
yeah,
so like maybe grandma won't go all the way to the 10th notch on the gradient, but she'll get two or
right.
three, right? Um, and so the question is like of the combinatorial clusterfuck that is, like what do you put at the front? What is the most important thing with the person with the least amount of information about it? Actually, that's the sense atlas problem.
I think it's I really like my intuition is that it's somewhere in the realm of this concept of a portable account or a portable identity. Um, like it's an identity that you own. And portable may not be the right word, right? But conceptually, like the
Yeah.
thing that the thing that unblocks us from having nice things is owning our social graph that's tied to that account in
Yep.
theory. And it's multiple social graphs too. You don't have one social graph. Like, God forbid you're shit posting on Blue Sky and your friends on LinkedIn see it. Like, right?
I mean, it doesn't bother me.
I mean, yeah, but you're a unique use case.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it's
But yes, it would be fun to put it in Sense Atlas.
all good. All right, man.
Good chatting.
Yeah, cheers.
See ya.
Yeah.